Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's weekly energy boost. My name is Elisheva, and today Eitan and I are here talking to you about endings. And it comes at an interesting time. Obviously, we just began 2025. 24 is just in our rearview mirror. And this week's energy is really asking us to rethink our perception of what end means. And the Kabbalists are very prolific about ends and beginnings, the importance of planting seeds at the right time, the importance of harvesting those seeds at the right time. And that's very much what Weekly Energy Boost is all about. So this week, even though many times we're talking about planting seeds, this is actually the week that we're talking about understanding how to navigate endings, how to be able to objectively recognize when something is run its course, when something needs to be wound down, and how to shift the way we perceive those processes in our own minds and in our hearts, and especially on a spiritual level. Weekly Energy Boost is a 7-day spiritual weather forecast where we provide our listeners with the most powerful and practical tools from the teachings of Kabbalah. We do that by looking through texts like the Zohar, to help inform what this week's energy and often this month's energy is about. And every episode ends up providing listeners with tools and wisdom you can use any week of the year, any year of your life. And so as we enter this new year, even though it's not a Kabbalistic new year, it has an energy of newness. Then here we have the biblical side, which is less related to time, less related to the calendar, and more related to the measurement of energy. The universe is telling us that this is an interesting or maybe optimal time to examine our life to see where we're not perceiving endings in the right way, how to shift our perception of endings, and how to identify when something is coming to an end. So on that note, Eitan, last week we had Miriam Ashkenazi on the podcast, and she was sharing with us all about what's new and upcoming in 2025. So I feel that this is like a yin and yang, a nice balance to help us really take advantage of what's going on energetically right now for everyone. What is it about endings that is so challenging for people?
I think when we see life through the consciousness that more attached to the body, to the 5 senses, we all fear end, and the biggest end is death. Because based on the 5 senses, based on the perception, death is an end, and it's dark, and it's unknown, and that's the reason we fear it. And death is the root of all type of deaths. If you can think about death of a relationship and death of certain jobs, or death or of certain role that I had in my life that don't no longer serving me. So we all afraid that, especially when it's unknown, that the death of something, the end of something, will bring with that confusion, uncertainty, darkness, and chaos. So this is from the point of view of the perception that stems from the lower consciousness. You know, we all have, the Kabbalah is saying there's 3 major ways that we can see life through. The lower level called nefesh is the part of our consciousness that attached to the 5 senses, to time, to space, to what I see, to what I don't see. There's ruach and there's neshama. Neshama is the higher part of our soul. And all what we do, even in this podcast, is to share wisdom from the Kabbalists, from the ancient Zohar, how to at least try to see, to understand things from the perception of my higher self. So according to the Neshama perception, the higher self perception, every end, it is actually a beginning to the next level, to a higher level. if I allow it, doesn't have to be this way, if I would allow it, in the same way that it says in the Zohar, when an elevated person leaves this world, while the people who see that person, for them it's death and it's pain and it's no more life, but actually to that individual, to that spirit that lives forever, there's additional of life. There's additional of joy. There's additional ability to support even the people on this planet. So it seemed to be contradictory to the perception of the limited perception. But all what we're going to speak about is give examples in real life situation, how when I shift my perception that end is not an end, end is opportunity for a greater beginning and a seed for bigger blessing, actually I can allow that to happen.
It's so interesting. I was just talking to someone about in their work, there's someone that they work with that they feel is no longer aligned with not only the mission of the company, but also personally with the person that I was speaking to. So, she has felt this for a long time and she's been putting it off for some time, hoping that it'll take care of itself. But at the same time, also knowing, and like you said, being more attached to that lower level of consciousness, of awareness, she's afraid of what facing or addressing the misalignment is going to do. She doesn't want to hurt the other person. She doesn't want to do damage. And again, the fear of the unknown, of what's going to, if that relationship ends, what are the unknown of how that's going to look and feels very real and very scary. So I shared with her a few different examples from people that I've worked with in the past that, you can also relate this to relationship, by the way, a romantic relationship, that when a relationship has run its course and we hold on to it, it's often holding back everybody who's involved. That not feeling aligned with the person in front of you is also a sign that there's someone out there that is better aligned. And holding on to the relationship, holding on to the partnership, holding on to the project that feels no longer in alignment is preventing something that's real and powerful to take its place. And it reminds me, I know it's a little bit cliche, but it's like in the same way that in the winter, trees let go of their old leaves to make room not only for more leaves, meaning to replace those leaves, but that letting go also is what allows the next season to have more leaves and more branches and more fruit. But it's in the letting go that we allow the space for something new to grow. Now, that doesn't mean you should go to every single person in your life and say, we're done, just because there's a little bit of discomfort or maybe annoyance or irritation, but to begin to look at those areas of our lives. And in last week's episode, we spoke about dealing with last week's energy was more about confronting things that are no longer serving or facing issues that maybe we've put on the back burner that are taking space and energy that need resolution. In an interesting shift, this whole conversation is helping us continue that direction of how can not only I be more alignment with the light, but how can my environment be more in alignment with the light? And it's hard to have those conversations. It's hard to even have those conversations with yourself, to deal with the fact that maybe a certain friendship is no longer what it used to be, and perpetuating it or pretending like it's still serving in the best way possible is actually doing a disservice to everyone that's involved.
Beautiful. I think when people come to me and ask me, how do I know that this is the time to let go of my job and to move on? How do I know it's the time to let go of this particular relationship? So I always would advise people, and that advice that I'm trying to follow myself, before you make this decision, don't look for security of the future. Let go of that question. What's going to be in the future? Ask yourself in a quiet moment, in a meditative moment, deep in my soul, in that dimension within me that knows and feel the truth. Imagine you have no fears of the future. Just be honest with yourself. Have you tried everything? Do you feel it's the end of that particular chapter? Or you're asking this question because you're escaping a little bit more hard work you're supposed to put, and you're just a typical Gemini that when things are uncomfortable, you want to run away. So of course, if that's the case, stay, learn more lessons, make more effort. But in this week's session, we're saying when you, in your authentic self, deep inside, feel it's okay. I did my best here. In the relationship, in a job, and sometimes in the house that you're living, in the living environment that you have. Sometimes you feel, that's it, it's the end of this chapter. I'm ready to go to a different neighborhood, to a different city. Yes, but I'm afraid of this, of that. Forget about the second question. What will be the future? Be present with how do you feel about the present moment. Is it a time to move on? If it is objectively, then before you're looking at what do I need to do and how the future look like, you need to know that without that ending, there's a seed for a major next level growth. Because from the universe point of view, from the light point of view, in life, the universe will push us to go upwards. From limited perception point of view, we're going through ups and downs and ups and downs. From the universe point of view, we're going always up. It looks like we're going down. We're only going up, but that up is concealed and hidden within the unknown. The biggest mistake people doing, they want first to feel totally secure about the future before they're making the move, or before they're making the commitment, or before they're making the decision. Then you're not permitting the newness, the magic to come. Like Rav Ashla giving this beautiful example. When you plant a seed, before the seed will start to grow, it will have to be decomposed and disappear completely in the ground. Only then something else will grow. Same thing in our life. Don't try to control the next step. Embrace what you know, and it's okay to face the unknown, because in that unknown, that's what a fertilizing soil to allow next blessing, next job, next relationship, next position. I spoke the other week with someone that had a goal and to manifest certain project, and they felt so proud and excited. And then they realized, I'm no longer excited about it. And I'm holding on to the project and the goal. So I asked them the question, are you holding on to the project goal because you truly in your heart believe that you need to persevere because there's more to do? Or deep inside you realize, you know what? I need to let go. It's not something that actually belonged to me. And he said, actually, it's my ego that don't feel comfortable with not fulfilling what I set in advance. It's okay. It's not an end. It is the appearance of end.
Eitan, you said something before that I think is so real and so relevant for people who are facing the prospect of, let's say, ending one thing and moving to another, is that sometimes we want to leave something behind because it's uncomfortable, because, as you just shared, maybe we're not letting go because of it's something related to the ego. I find that a lot of times people stay in the old or in what's familiar or comfortable because they're worried that in leaving it or ending it, they're running away from their tikkun. They're running away from the potential transformation that's waiting for them in the discomfort or in the situation that they're tired of or frustrated with or whatever it is that's prompting them to think even about ending it. How can we tell the difference between I'm running from my tikkun versus it's genuinely time to move on?
So the fact that you even, Elisheva, asking this question, that's already a big part of the answer. Just ask this question, each one of us, ask the Creator, ask the true intelligence of my soul that knows the truth of and the real reality, what's best in a bigger picture. Am I actually certain that it's the right thing for me to move on because there's a new beginning? Or am I escaping something? Am I not dealing with, maybe sometimes you have, for example, you're deciding, yes, this relationship, it's over. But what does it mean escaping my tikkun? Did you confront the person that you are in relationship with about all the feelings that you have? Did you allow a period of true transparency in conversations and sharing feelings before you made that decision? So if a person didn't do it, I would recommend go through your process, even though it may need to end, but go through the process. Share, confront, be vulnerable. So if a person is running away from confrontation all their life, and only because it's uncomfortable to really deal with, at the end of the day, it's uncomfortable to deal with my own feelings. It's not external situations. External situation is just triggering my own uncomfortable feelings that it's hard for us to deal. So for sure, the answer is stay in it. So again, at the end of the day, everything starts with being truthful to ourselves and wanting the truth and not just wanting comfort. It's a big difference because truth will give you comfort, joy, happiness, blessing, but not necessarily right away.
It's interesting because I think also in our nefesh perception of end or needing to start all over again, there is also this false perception that if I leave something behind, if it's a relationship, a job, a project, whatever, it was a waste. And we've spoken before about this idea of, if something is a waste of time, right? It's only a waste of time if we decide it is. In the spiritual world, energy is never lost. And if something doesn't manifest in the area of my life that I was investing in, that energy remains with me, doesn't stay in the project or the old relationship. It is collected in my own personal bank and can result in a miraculous manifestation somewhere else. Now, I might look at that conversation and say, well, it's so crazy. We talked for only 2 hours, but things move, it was just magical. The magic is a result of an investment of energy in another area of our life. And I think that sometimes people resist walking away or ending something because they're worried. Like there's actually a word in a phrase for it in psychology, but it's like, if I walk away from it, it's as though it didn't exist. Or people will finish the tub of ice cream because they don't want to waste it, but they also really don't want to eat the ice cream, right? But they just can't stand to waste the ice cream. I think that part of this energy, and I'm sure it's also connected to, we're in the month of Capricorn, and Capricorns are very much hard workers. They believe in effort and exertion and commitment, and to be able in this month to also receive, in a way, an antidote for that, taking that ethic, that work ethic, to the wrong place, to the wrong end of the spectrum, where you can't walk away because you've already given it 20 years, and if you walk away, the 20 years was a waste. Or what was it for? To really understand that in the physical reality, and obviously we're in the physical reality for a reason, that degree of illusion that presents itself, that we don't get to see where our seeds are going to manifest. We don't get to see, the next step and the next step and the next step after that. Part of the real work is to develop that trust, to know that there is a system that has my back, and that the 20 years of effort I put over here will manifest somewhere else. The energy or effort that I put into the relationship that's come to an end isn't for nothing. And it's also, I feel, connected to what you said before about even when a person dies and leaves, that their body ceases to exist, but their soul continues, not only continues, but actually can even be more impactful, influential, and present in the lives of those who love that person, to realize that energy is 99% of the picture. We treat it as though it's 1%. The physical, the time, the traffic, the burden of living in the physical reality is only 1% of what's going on. And this is a really great time to reassess how we perceive the effort that we're making and our attachment to the outcome of that effort versus the potential blessings that the universe can give me that's not proportionate to my effort.
Beautiful. Actually, Rav Ashlag speaks about a concept that refer to the greatest goal of the opponent within. In this, we have a soul, which from that stems positive energy that has continuity, and we have the opponent that try to block us expressing our soul. The evil inclination, the opponent, the negative side. So what is the greatest reward the opponent, the negative side, gets? That concept in Hebrew called tohe al rishonot, questioning and doubting my past positive action. So let's say a person was in a marriage, in a spiritual path, in certain friendship, in certain relationship, and at the time they believe that's what I reveal my energy, my love, my soul, and investing. And from place of conscious, from place of positive intention. And then after a while, like you say, Elisheva, realize it was a mistake. Maybe it was a mistake. But I'm actually prefer to delete that past. I feel uncomfortable about past. It was all a mistake. I'm putting it in a box, in a dark box. It was not good. I rather that past not to go with you. What happened? All this positive energy that you reveal, and you were positive, and you did a lot of positive things, and you did help a lot of people in that process. But at the moment you decide it was bad, it was a mistake, and it's gone, and I wish not to take it with me, you don't take it with you. And when you don't take that with you, you actually missing and lacking the seed for the next level future. So even mistakes that we've done are part of the process of preparing me to this moment. Rav Berg said something very powerful. When you look at your past, learn lessons from the past, never regret your past. Because when you regret your past, you actually don't take all the lessons and all the light that led you to this chapter in your life. And how does it manifest itself? When you're angry at your ex-wife, And when you're angry at ex-friends, and when you're angry at the job, and when you're embarrassed how horrible I was and you don't want ever to talk about it, then you're blocking. You're blocking the gift of the present to take you to the next level.
I'm sure as people are listening, it's like, I hear everything you're saying and I'm thinking we've all done that. We've all, regretted, wished it didn't happen, been embarrassed, wanting to take back things we said, did, the way we acted. And I just spoke with someone sharing with me a similar situation where she was saying she was so embarrassed at how she acted. She wished she could take it back. And then she became spiritual and she said, I'm sure it's going to be fine. And I said to her, wait a second. And I feel like it's the same conversation. I said, what if she's thinking to herself, I don't ever want to spend time with that person again. I don't ever want to, that person, meaning the person I'm talking to, she's crazy. I don't want to ever be around her again. How do you know that's not the best thing that could happen? And that I think is part of the, especially when a person is going through a breakup, one that is a surprise, not one that, sometimes things come to an end and we got to admit we tried our best, and sometimes an ending comes out of nowhere, getting fired from a job, breakup, getting betrayed, right? Sometimes it seems very abrupt, very out of nowhere. And it's harder to justify or rationalize when you didn't see it coming. In those moments, it's so important to remember. And by the way, I see people do this also when a loved one passes away, right? They say, what did I do? What did I do? Why did they leave me? As though it's personal and one person would leave the world just because another person did something. The reality is, if that second person decides, I never want to be around that person again, it's also from the light. And the idea that if it's in the past, it was exactly how it needed to be, right? Meaning you could have slept the whole day, not gotten out of bed, not touched your phone, nothing, and the day would have gone exactly as it did without you. That understanding actually helps us to realize that again, going back to the neshama perspective, our highest self knows that the light of the Creator is behind everything and everyone, even when it looks like loss, lack, or disappearance. So to use those small moments, right? Someone cancels plans. That's also from the light. Someone, I don't know, sometimes it happens that like your favorite restaurant closes or they stop making a product that you use every day and you get so upset and so annoyed and so frustrated. That's also from the light. And when you practice injecting that consciousness on the little things, the small apparent losses, and I say apparent because it's not a loss. Now we understand that in the disappearance or the moving away of what was, there's space for not only something else, but something better, more blessed, more fruitful to take its place, to practice on the small things. That way, when a bigger disappearance or a bigger apparent end becomes a part of the movie script, you already have not only the mentality, the consciousness, but also the cellular memory of, I've lost things before, things have fallen through, not everything works forever, and the light is also behind this, that you begin to strengthen that muscle of awareness that it's all from the light. There is only me and the light of the Creator as far as I'm concerned, and it's all moving me toward, like you said, I love that word, elevation. How can I get to the next level and the next level and the next level?
The last thing that I'll share, what you exactly said, Elisheva, the ability to accept the plan of the next level is the secret of rejuvenation, youth, inspiration, renewal. Renewal doesn't come with adding on to stuff that I need to let go. I need to let go in order to allow the energy of renewal and new inspirations and new magic to come into my life. And that's a process all of us need to go through. Embrace, let go, allow renewal.
I'm up for it. I think after listening to this, everyone else is too. And it's just a good reminder, that when we focus on the energy of the week, we will always have direction as to our spiritual work. So I love having these conversations with you because it also helps me focus my energy and attention in the best way to take advantage of what the universe is giving us this week. Weekly Energy Boost is available on all podcast platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You can follow us on those platforms to receive more content to live out the things we speak about every week. You can also visit our website, weeklyenergyboost.com, to search through our archives, to read about the things that we think are important for our listeners to know about, and to click the donate button to support our podcast. As always, share this episode, like, rate, review, and we'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.